Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are digging into the massive numbers that are going to shape our world's economy in 2026. We're going to look at who the heavy hitters are and who's coming up fast.
Okay, just look at this number for a second. $123.6 trillion. That's what the entire world economy is projected to be worth in 2026. It's the kind of number that's so big it almost doesn't feel real.
So, naturally, you gotta ask, right? Who's getting the biggest piece of that enormous pie? Which countries are really moving the needle? Let's jump in and see who's sitting at the top of the economic mountain. All right, so first up, you've got the Titans. We're talking about a very small club of countries whose economic power is so immense, it literally shapes everything for the rest of us. And leading the pack, well, it's a name you'll definitely recognize.
And yup, no surprise here, the United States is projected to hold on to its top spot as the world's largest economy. We're talking a GDP of almost $32 trillion. It really is still the undisputed heavyweight champion. Right behind them, in a very solid second place, you've got China, with a GDP expected to be over $20 trillion. Now, its crazy fast growth from years past is slowing down a bit, but its economy is still expanding in a huge way as it pivots to more advanced industries. Now, to really wrap your head around the sheer scale of the U.S. economy, think about this. It's not just bigger than China's, it's actually bigger than the next two economies, that's China and Germany, put together. That is just an incredible amount of economic firepower.
And this is what's really wild. The power is so concentrated. Just 5 countries, the US, China, Germany, India, and Japan, are going to generate more than 55% of everything the world produces. That leaves about 190 other countries to split the rest.
But hey, the story doesn't stop with the big guys. Not even close. There's this huge shift happening under the surface, with a bunch of emerging economies climbing the ladder and really starting to change the game. And you really have to talk about India here. It is just on a tear, projected to become the world's 4th largest economy, and it's growing faster than any other major emerging nation. But keep an eye on others too. Places like Vietnam, Bangladesh, and the Philippines are becoming absolute powerhouses in global manufacturing. But economic growth is never a sure thing. And to see that in action, we're going to look at this, well, it's a tale of 2 economies, really. 2 close allies whose fortunes have gone in completely different directions over the last 17 years. So think back to the 2008 financial crisis. Since that moment, the economic stories for the US and the UK have split into 2 totally different paths. One has had this historic boom, while the other, well, it's been stuck in a long-term rut. And this table just lays it all out, clear as day. The gap is just, wow. The main US stock index, the S&P 500, is up over 300%. In the UK, their main index is actually down 20% in dollar terms. Wealth for the average American has more than doubled. For the average Brit, it's actually fallen. The numbers are pretty stark. So what's the secret sauce for the US? Well, it's a few big things working together. You've got total dominance in future-facing tech like AI, a flood of foreign money pouring into US stocks, and even wealth moving within the country to places like Florida. Now, for the UK, the picture has been pretty different. You've had a bunch of headwinds. Higher taxes have pushed some wealth away, years of uncertainty around Brexit made investors nervous, and the London Stock Exchange just isn't the global giant it once was. So all this economic power, all this GDP, it's not just some abstract number on a chart, right? It's about what a country can actually do with its money, what it chooses to prioritize. And that brings us to a really important debate that's happening right now about security versus social spending. And here's something you might find interesting. Right now, today, every single NATO country has a clear pecking order for its spending. Despite all the tensions in the world, they all spend less on their military than they do on things like healthcare or education. Just take a look at this table. It really shows you what's going on. You've got Poland, which for obvious reasons is spending a lot on defense, over 4% of its GDP. But even they are spending way more on health. And you see that same pattern pretty much everywhere. And the US is maybe the most extreme example of this. Its defense budget is massive, almost $1 trillion. But that's still only about 3.4% of its economy. That number is absolutely dwarfed by what it spends on health, which is a staggering 16.5% of the entire economy. That's almost 5 times more. Okay, but this is where things could be about to change.
Big time. There's a new proposal on the table for NATO countries, a new target to get defense spending up to 5% of their GDP by 2035. For a lot of these countries, that would be a complete reversal of their current priorities.
So what does that actually mean? Well, if that 5% target gets hit, it would push 21 NATO countries into a brand new situation, a world where they are officially spending more money on their militaries than they are on their schools.
And that's the really big question this all leads to, isn't it? As the world gets more complicated, more dangerous, what's the right balance? What's the price of security? And is a future where defense spending is bigger than education spending, is that a price we're willing to pay? That is the incredibly tough conversation that leaders and all of us are going to have to figure out.